Well, good afternoon. It's Jared Covilli here from the Digital Teaching and Learning team. We're excited to have you join us either live or in our recording that we've shared out with you. We are excited to share with you the fourth in our series of digital teaching and learning webinars that we've had, kind of as we followed up from the USET conference. And we've shared with you a lot of the great different tools and strategies that you can use to enhance your classroom use of technology. Today, we are excited to have some of our friends from Apple who are joining us. And they're going to be sharing several of the new tips and tricks that they kind of shared at ISTE or at USET and that they're showing currently in classrooms. So we're excited to be able to have a lot of different ideas that we can share with you all as we kind of move forward towards the end of this school year. But we're excited to welcome Paulo, Casey, and Joe with us today from Apple. I'm going to let Paulo just kind of kick us off, and they'll share with us their screen and kind of give us a little tour of some of the latest features in Apple. So, Paulo, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, we're excited to join you today. We know a lot of Jordan School District teachers utilize Apple products, specifically with the Mac. So we're going to focus today a little bit on Mac, but I'm going to have my team go through the content today. So I'd like to introduce the rest of my team. Casey Beach, he's our leadership executive, former educator on the team. And then Jörg Radler, he's our systems engineer, will be joining us as well. So we've got quite a bit to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Casey and Jörg, and they'll get us going. Thanks.
Excellent. So hello, everybody. I am Casey. I just want to double check really quick. So hopefully I'm sharing my screen. I'm not sure which screen I'm sharing though.
Yep, you're good.
I am good. All right. So because I went to click and I got click happy. So here I'm going to do that one more time and go in here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to start us out just with a little bit of a keynote. So the keynote that I'm sharing is kind of just a basic, what are we doing today? But I kind of wanted to start out by just showing you guys one of the new features that's inside of Keynote that I'm probably the most excited about. And it is the idea of utilizing something called live video. And so if we think of all of the times that we've been trying to record some sort of presentation, whether we're using Screencastify or we're using just the ability to screen record directly on our Mac, sometimes having content like this along with our video like this is one of those things that's a little bit difficult to do. But within Keynote, one of the cool things now, like I said, is just our ability to add in live video, just like so. All I got to do is click on it and it brings up a window just like this. And we're able to have our video run directly in it. So with that being said, today, what we want to do is we want to look at a couple of different items. One of the items is just tools to simplify that day-to-day life while using a Mac. So some people call this kind of your tips and tricks type of session. We want to go over some of those. I'm going to cover some of my favorites, kind of from the side of a teacher. That's the way that I'm going to be looking at it. And then Jörg's going to cover a couple of his kind of from the side of technology. So we're really going to marry the idea of art and technology kind of coming together in order to provide an experience that's going to be great for all of us. So we're looking at tools to simplify. We're going to look at a couple of things, personalizing your Mac. Now, I'm starting there. If you're one of those people who are like, I already know about the settings app or system preferences on my Mac, it's okay because we're going to start shallow and then go deep really quick. And then what we want to do is kind of spend some time on the idea of how do we support our learners, because this Mac is such a powerful tool. Are the things that we can use on it that's going to allow us to really benefit our kids inside the classroom. And then finally, what we want to do is show you a couple of things that I think will really excite you just on ways that you can turn your Mac into a teaching tool and allow you a little bit of freedom inside of the classroom. So with those items being said, what I want to do is I'm going to start out just on my desktop. So I have my desktop here. It's all cluttered. I got a few things kind of going on, but I want you to know just a few things. One, the Mac that I'm running today is a MacBook Air. It's the M1, and I have updated everything. So I'm running macOS Monterey. There may be a few things that we show today that if you haven't updated, aren't available yet. And so it's going to be one of those things where maybe it excites you to do an update. And with those things kind of being said, I would love for us all to start out maybe doing this together. I can drive slow, I can drive fast, but what I want to do is I just want to start out inside of system preferences right here. And the reason that I wanted to start here is this is always that first place that I love to get started, either with teachers, with family members, with my mother-in-law. Hand them a brand new Mac, and one of the first things they say is, when I look at my Mac, some of my items aren't like I expect them to be. And the very first item is the idea of my trackpad. So utilizing my mouse. I really wish I could do things the way that I want. So this is where I'm going to start really, really simple. And that simple start is this. On a Mac, it is actually set up to be fairly old school, kind of the idea where I'm using one click on my mouse and I'm utilizing the command button and the control button. If I really want the idea of my right click, I just want my right click back, this is the place where I'm going to start. And I'm going to be looking at something like click on the right bottom corner, or that click or tap with two fingers. Those items right there tend to get people, kind of on that page where they're like, all right, I got this. This is cool. The other item that I really wanted to point out in this one section is the idea of scroll and zoom. And this is why. So if I look at scroll and zoom, about 4 or 5 years ago, the Mac kind of switched the way it was doing things, and it started behaving a lot like an iPad, meaning that if I wanted to scroll down, I honestly just swiped down on my trackpad. It was the exact opposite experience, and here I'll show this, of what it used to be, meaning that if you think of the idea of a scroll bar on the side of the Mac, what I want to do is grab it and drag it down in order to move my page upwards, kind of working on a pulley system. If everything is just felt like it was just a little bit backwards, I'm just going to invite you to come over to scroll and zoom within trackpad and either click or unclick in that area right there. So some cool stuff there. And that's where I wanted to start. I'm curious, when you look at kind of basic starting points within system preferences, what's one of the things that you like to look at?
That's a good point here. Now, one of the things I always talk to people about is how to organize your icons, right? Right now it's by categories, but sometimes it's like you want to just find something, where's display? And you're like, okay, do I have to look at the bottom, at the top? So Casey, if you don't mind just clicking on view and then changing it to organize alphabetically. What that allows you to do is basically it reorganizes all those little icons alphabetically, and sometimes it's a lot easier. But another one is the little search window up on the top right. So if I look for screen share or for privacy, I can just start typing it in, and it kind of highlights where those objects could be hidden. And then on the right side, it kind of narrows it down. And screen sharing, you can click on it, and it kind of makes it easy to find. So it's really, those are the two things I always make sure I cover when it comes to system preferences.
Great points. And, one of the things I always like to show Jörg is anything that I can do on my Mac, I can also undo on my Mac. And so what I'll do is I'm going to move mine back to categories because I hate to say it, I'm like old school and I feel like that's the place where I want to be. So, so starting with that idea, what we're going to do is we're going to dig a little bit deeper into system preferences here in a moment. But before I do that, what I would like to do is bring up just the web page here. So I'm going to open up Safari, and here's the thing, guys. I am purposely using Safari. It is it's the browser that actually was built for the Mac, and there's a few things within Safari that's going to be extremely specific to Safari. So I get asked a lot of questions. Hey, if I do this in Chrome, does the same thing work? And what I'm going to do is just say, in this case, no, not really. And so what I want to do is I kind of want to start with this idea. And the idea is if I have something like Safari here that's open and ready for me to roll, there's a lot of times I go into a website or a web page like this, where maybe I have a ton of items that just seems to be cluttering up the page. So today I picked something really simple, something that's maybe in an elementary classroom, but just imagine all those times you go into a Safari page, just doing a little bit of research, and all of a sudden things become pretty complicated pretty quick. What I wanted to do is just show that we have an icon right here that allows us to basically eliminate all of the stuff that's on the outside. It's called Reader View. And the real purpose behind Reader View is basically just for the idea of removing those distractions. That way I can really focus on the content that's in front of me. I love this view right here just because, well, it feels like I just pulled a PDF right out of a web page. A couple of things about Reader View when I'm in there, you'll notice that also up here in my address bar, I have a big A, little a is what I call it. This is that spot where if I needed to customize, let's say I wish maybe the page was a little bit darker, or maybe I wish the font was a little bit different, or what if I just wish the font was a little bit bigger? All of these items I can do directly inside of Reader View when I'm on a web page. Now, here's the thing, not every single web page is going to allow for this. And like I said, anything that I do, I can simply undo like this. So pretty cool stuff right there. It's one of those things that when I utilize it, I really view it as, from the teacher's side, this moment right here. So here I have this wonderful web page. I bring up my Reader View. This is that spot where if I needed to, I'll just say, maybe borrow a little bit of text, I'm building a quiz or whatever. When I borrow it from this portion or from this place right here, what it does is it simply brings it in as true text. Case in point, I'm going to do a Command C, which is a copy. I'm going to go into a note that I already have, and I'm just going to do a Command V, and notice how it brings it in. It's not going to bring in any HTML code. It's not going to bring in any of the wackiness that sometimes follows you along when you're grabbing a little bit of text from a web page. It makes it a real simple item for me when I'm working in this view. So with those things being said, one of the things I also wanted to point out is, as far as a teacher tool goes, is just my ability to continue to grab materials that maybe I want to use inside the classroom. So here, my whole point was, how in the world can I grab text quickly? How can I make sure that I'm not grabbing any of that extra stuff? What I want to do is kind of make a little bit of a shift here. And so within this shift, what I want to do is just talk about the idea of a screenshot. And so, real quick, when I think of a screenshot, one of the things that tends to come up is everybody knows like these three keys, Command, Shift, and 3. Would you agree, Jörg? Those are kind of the things that first thing you learned is Command, Shift, 3 when it comes to taking a screenshot on my Mac. If I wanted to, and I'm just going to show that really quick, I'm going to just do that Command, Shift, 3. And what it does is it actually brings up the idea of a screenshot of a particular window. So it's going to screenshot the entire window. To bring it in just a little bit more, think of this idea. If I do a Command Shift 4, what it does is it brings up that nice little selection tool, if you will, to where I can click and drag my specific thing that I would like to take a screenshot of. And when I let go, it takes that picture and it throws it directly to my desktop. Now, as a teacher, I know there's been many times where I've gone through and I keep, taking screenshots, and it keeps going to my desktop, and pretty soon I have 55,000 screenshots on my desktop. If you've been there, you feel my pain. What I want to do is I want to show you a solution, and the solution is this. It takes more fingers here, so everybody work with me on this. I want you to do a Command Shift 4, just like you did last time. But what I want you to do different is I want you to do Command Control Shift 4. So Command Control Shift 4. And when you do that and you take your screenshot, like I'm going to do, a huge difference just happened. It didn't send that screenshot to my desktop. Instead, what it did was it sent it directly to my my copy and paste board, which means that it's just saved virtually for me. And when I'm ready to paste it, I'm just going to do that Command V, and instantly it shows up. So if you think of that work process or that workflow of I'm in a Word doc, I'm in a Pages document, I'm trying to create this experience for my students, and I have all these screenshots all over, that Control Command Shift 4, saving it directly to my clipboard, that was the word I'm looking for, makes life a little bit easier. So what do you think, Jörg? Was that a pretty neat one? I know when I showed you that one earlier today, you were like, oh, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, no.
So
every time you work with Casey, you learn something new. So that was a really cool one. Thank you.
Too cool. So, hey guys, what I want to do is I want to take you down one more screenshot route, just because I think it's actually kind of cool. And so I'm going to do the same exact thing that I've done before. And I want you to do it with me. I'm going to do that Command Control Shift 4. So Command Control Shift 4. There is my little hash mark. You see it right there. Now notice hands are up. I haven't clicked and dragged yet. What I'm going to do is hit the space bar. And when I hit the space bar, what it does is it brings up a camera. And what it's doing is saying, hey, which window do you want to take a picture of? And so I'm just going to do same window here. I'm just going to click it. I clicked it with my trackpad. And now when I go over to my little practice note here, so you guys can see things, I'm going to paste it in. And notice how it pastes in. It just brings in that whole window. It actually brings in a little bit of an effect of that shadow right there, which makes things actually kind of cool. And so once again, just neat ways of grabbing data when we need to grab that data. And a lot of times when I think of, you know, the idea of screenshots and all of that stuff. Oh, good. I just looked at the chat. Kira, I'm glad. I'm so excited about that. My desktop is littered with screenshots. Yep, I hope this one saved it. So, but those moments when you're working with other teachers, and this is what I want you to think of. Think of all of you in the class right now. You're going to be experts with Command Control Shift 4 and all of that. But when you think of other teachers who are utilizing their Mac, sometimes all of those keyboard shortcuts get a little bit confusing. And it's like, how in the world do I just remember all of that? So what I want to do is just point out that within Launchpad, and notice my Launchpad kind of looks like a Rubik's Cube. If you still have a Rocket for your Launchpad, you're really due for an update on your operating system. But same stuff's inside. I'm going to click on it. And when I open it up, what I want to do is just draw your attention to a folder that's called Other. And when I go into Other, there is a really nifty little app right here called Screenshot. And it's truly an app. And what I'm going to do is just grab this app. I'm going to click and drag it. And I'm going to come down here to my dock and let go. And now I will always have Screenshot as an app available to me on my Mac. So again, that workflow was going into the Launchpad, going into the Other folder, and then drag and drop Screenshot onto my desk or onto my dock, if you will. So here's what's neat about, oops, I dropped it on top of mail. I don't want to mail this to anybody. And get rid of that. So once it's on my dock down here, what's nice is anytime I want to do a screenshot, I can just come down here and click on that wonderful little guy right there. And it's going to open up a couple of different options for me. And I'm working on 2 different monitors right now, and I see my tools are showing up on another monitor. So I want to tell you what I'll do. I'm going to come back to that app a little bit later after you do your talk. Is that okay? That way we can utilize it a little bit better. So we'll come back to that app here in a little bit. What I would like to do now is just bring in another teacher tool. And that teacher tool is kind of the idea of being able to utilize stuff on my Mac here to really, really benefit my students. So item number one is going to be this, and we're going to need to do a little bit of setup. What I would like for everybody to do, again, is go into system preferences. And what we're going to do is we're going to utilize some of the accessibility features on our Mac, because I want us to think of accessibility as benefiting all, not just one. What we really want to do is figure out a way that we can use these features that benefit everybody. So if I go into accessibility, so again, I went into system preferences and I clicked on accessibility. There's a moment here, a little menu item that is called spoken content. And again, I'm on the updated version. If it's the operating system before this, it's similar. It has a little bit of a different view to it. But if I go into spoken content, what I have the ability to do is actually speak selections of text whenever I would like it to do this for me, meaning that if I highlight the text, I can click on it and tell it to read to me. This is also a place where I can start to mess with different voices. There's a lot of different voices. If you've ever spent time in one of our accessibility classes that we do, we talk a lot about Alex and how the voice of Alex is really meant to be a benefit to all students because it's the only humanized voice, meaning it breathes and it pauses and it does all of those nifty little things. I'm leaving mine on Siri. I kind of enjoy the Siri voices. So I'm just gonna leave it there. And if I come down to my speak selection item, a couple of things inside of my options that everybody needs to know about is this. My shortcut happens to be option escape. So if I wanted to highlight text and I press option and escape, it's going to read that text to me. And what I wanted it to do, and this is where it's cool, is I would like it to highlight the words in purple as it's reading. So now that I've gone through these little steps right here, let's take a look and see how this works. I'm going to come to All About Our Earth. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to do option escape.
Our home planet Earth is a rocky terrestrial planet. It has a solid and active surface with mountains, valleys, canyons, plains, and so much more. Earth is special because it is an ocean planet. Water covers 70% of Earth's surface.
Now, if I just leave it right there, if you think about the idea of it's reading and it's highlighting as it's going, just think of students for a moment. And a lot of times when we work with emerging readers, or we work with even some of those middle school and high school kids who struggle with reading, you know, a lot of time what we find is this: the struggle has more to do with eyes than anything, meaning that the idea of moving our eyes from left to right in a normal, or not a normal, but in a fashion that allows us to track is such a huge skill. And when you bring in the idea of highlighting text as it's reading to us, it becomes one of those things that seriously help our students when they're learning how to read. Marla, just to answer your question, does this work on an iPad? Absolutely. This is one of the features that's built in. And maybe the next time we get to work with you guys, we'll do this all on iPad so you can kind of see the same things. But with that idea of supporting a learner, I want to support a learner just a little bit more. And this is going to be our next little trip into system preferences. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a paper really quick. It's a giant paper. I have tons and tons of text here highlighted. And I want you to think of students for a moment. When they see a ton of text, they tend to shut down. And so what I want to do is take all of this text, and I'm going to use a service that we all have on our Mac called Summarize, meaning that I can take all of this text, allow my Mac to take a look at it, which is what it's doing here. If it was 100%, here's all of that text. And I say, would you please start summarizing this? What it does is it starts to take out, I'm going to call them filler words, and it starts to leave us with big ideas. And so if I take a look at all of the text that I just selected, it was about 4 pages worth. Basically what it did was it just said, okay, I believe that this bit of text, the important parts were these items. That there, in my mind, is a huge time saver. And so in order to make this work, this is something we have to turn on. I'm not going to save that. And the way that we turn it on is, again, within system preferences. And within system preferences, you'll have to ask Jörg about this one. It's never made sense to me on where it's at, but this is where it's at. It's inside of keyboard. So again, I went to system preferences, I went to keyboard, and now you'll notice there's these tabs on the top of the keyboard. If I go to shortcuts, what it does is it lists some really cool items here. One of those shortcut ideas is something called a service. So if I go to system preferences, keyboard, shortcuts, services, and I scroll all the way down to the bottom almost, you'll see a spot here that says summarize that I guarantee on your Mac hasn't been checked. If you check it, what that'll allow you to do is highlight any text, just like I did here, do a right click or a secondary click, scroll down to the services, and go to summarize. And that's going to bring up our summarize item. Pretty cool stuff right there. So when we look at our abilities to do all of this stuff with the written language, I want Jörg to kind of help me out with this just a little bit. So, Jörg, we started to build in one of those items called translate. And I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are on some of this stuff. And maybe if you could walk me through maybe doing a little bit of translation just right here on this webpage. Could we do that? Or do I need to turn it over to you?
Well, I'll take over here in just a second, but
Yeah.
if you mind opening some system preferences real quick again, I want to just
Oh, sure.
go over one more piece. Go back to accessibility, please, and then spoken content. So the feature that Casey just demoed was speak selection, right? And speak selection is basically any text that you select, you can have read back to you. And it works in every app. So no matter if you're on the web browser, if you're in Pages, Numbers, if you're on a document, it works really, really well. And like Casey said, there's different voices. So if you want to hear what it sounds like with an Australian accent or a British accent, it's pretty powerful. But one thing that is kind of one of those hidden gems is, oops, where'd it go?
Sorry,
That's
bringing
okay.
it back.
It's under spoken content is the option that's towards the bottom where it says speak typing feedback. So imagine you're in a classroom, kids just learn how to spell words, right? If that feature is turned on and they type a word, immediately the word gets read back to them. If you have students that struggle with dyslexia, right, being dyslexic, now they can type content and get immediate feedback if that's the word they're actually trying to type. I think it's a really cool feature that's available.
H-E-L-L-O. Hello.
Right? It's totally customizable by character or by word. So right, so that's one of those things I love to kind of show students or teachers, especially when it's in primary grades. So I'm gonna take the screen here from you, Casey, and go a little bit over the thing that he actually wanted me to talk about before I kind of wandered off here. Oh, you need to unshare your screen here real quick. I'll stop sharing.
You got it. You got it. And as we oops, stop sharing. That's the right button there.
Okay.
As we're kind of doing that switch over, as Jörg brings his stuff up, one of the things that is really cool getting to work with Jörg. Jörg is a systems engineer at Apple, and a lot of the stuff that he brings in, man, it's just that techie side that seriously gets a person excited, especially teaching, where you start seeing some of the connections of the tech side with all of our teaching strategies.
Well, thank you, Casey. So real quick, my background is I used to work for Clark County, and even though I was an IT guy, I always wanted to know what teachers are doing. So I'm very passionate about kind of working with teachers, kind of showing them stuff that they can actually use in the classroom, not just working with IT people. So one of the pieces that we've just implemented, and it's again available both on the Mac and the iOS side, is a translate piece. So in this case, I'm originally from Germany. So sometimes when I look or do research on documents, I find something in German, right? And then I can translate it, but sometimes you kind of lazy, you want to automate it. So we have a translate feature built in. So in this case, I'm gonna have an article here. I can highlight text. I can do the right click on it. And if I click on translate, it actually translates it into English, right? It recognizes that the source language is German and translates it into English. I could have it translated into French. I could have it translated into Korean. We're gonna stay with English because now I can actually click on the little play button.
12,000 people applied. In addition to U.S. citizenship and certain fields of study, the prerequisites for the astronaut job were also a fitness test. 2 years of training lie ahead of women and men.
Right, and I think that's pretty cool. There's a dedicated app on the iPad that actually lets you set the iPad in the middle of two people, and you can have a conversation, right? So I could be talking German in case the English, and the iPad would real-time translate what I'm saying. In case you could respond in English, it would translate it to German. So this was kind of a little trip down foreign languages, but you can take any content, Spanish, French, it automatically takes it, translates into English by default, or you can switch it around and have it translated into a different language. And then obviously whatever you have can be copy and pasted. So I think that's really cool. I'm gonna hand it back to you, Casey.
That's some pretty cool stuff right there. You know, when we look at just what we can do with text to, we'll say translate, it leads me to, I'm going to call this my level 99 moment. That's what I always used to call it with my teachers. And my level 99 moment really comes here. We have all of this stuff on our Mac. How in the world do I benefit my students the most? There's a feature or a new app that's built in onto every Mac, and I'm going to go to it slowly here. It is called Shortcuts. And so here, I should do it this way. The way that I'm going to go to it is I'm going to go to Launchpad. From Launchpad, again, it is found inside of Other. And from Other, I'm going to go right here where it says Shortcuts. And the reason that I want to bring in Shortcuts is it was an app that was first showed up on the iPhone and the iPad. And man, it was just so cool, some of the things that it could do. In this case, if you're kind of following along with me, or you're doing this right along with me, here's a couple of things that I want you to know. First, with Shortcuts, what I've done is I've expanded it to where I can see the sidebar right here. Within the sidebar, notice I can see Shortcuts, quick actions, and menu bar. I've been playing with this for so long that I'm not sure if this is the default settings. So if it's not, one of the things you can always do is in the menu, go to the preferences and say that inside the sidebar, you would like quick actions and menu bar selected. Okay. Now, I just said this is what it is. It's a shortcut place. It's a place where I can build a workflow for me. And a lot of times the workflow that I think of that I need the most is if I want to support a young reader or a struggling reader, sometimes the best thing I can do is I can read with them. And for those moments when I can't read with them, wouldn't it be awesome if I could have already prepackaged a moment of reading with them? And that's what I'm going to do here. Guys, inside a Shortcut, there is a gallery. These are shortcuts that are already built, so we don't have to rebuild these. There is the very first one that shows up, this one right here, that's called Turn Text into Audio. And so I'm just going to click on it. And just like that, I'm going to add this shortcut to all of my stuff here. In order to find it, now that I have it, what I know is it's somewhere inside of this giant list. For me, the easiest thing to do is just to come down here. It's the last one that I've added. And now there's that shortcut. I know we're a little tight on time, so I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to take this shortcut and I'm going to throw it into my menu bar. The reason that I did this is because now inside of my menu, there is, can I move this over? Yeah, a nice little icon right here, which allows me to turn text into audio. So now let's just try it. Let's see how this works. I got a little bit of text right here. Obviously, I could do a little bit more if we had a little bit more time here, but I'm going to select the text and I'm going to copy it. So Command C. And now I'm going to run the shortcut. And it says, what's the text?
Surface.
So I'm going to paste it in and I'm going to say done. And now what's happening is it's creating an audio file for me.
Our home planet Earth is a rocky, terrestrial planet.
And while it has created the audio file for me that I'll be able to send to my kids if I need to. Now, here's the thing. It is reading in Alex.
It has a solid and active surface with mountains, valleys, canyons, plains, and
if you say to yourself, I really wish that it would read in a different format, it can. And here's how. I'm just going to show you really quick. If you were to take any shortcut that you've created and you double click on it, what it does is it opens it up and it allows you to see how the shortcut actually runs. What I know is right here in the show more, show less, I have the ability to say, don't use Alex, use a different voice. Or why don't you ask me every single time? And again, to see this in action, I'm going to do the same thing. I did the copy. I'm going to run my shortcut. I'm going to paste it in there. And now it's saying, which one do you want to use? So I'm going to use Aaron, say done. And now it's going to run that shortcut for me. It's turning it into an audio file. And I hope I picked a voice that's downloaded. I think I did. Oops. And as soon as it's done running, what it'll do is it'll be able to, boom, here it is, read it in Aaron's voice.
Our home planet Earth is a rocky terrestrial planet. It has a solid and active surface with mountains, valleys, canyons, plains, and so much more.
So if you take a look at just that ability to create that quick audio file, man, what a slick thing. And I'm just looking really quick at the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay. Now, with all of that being said, as a teacher, these are some of my favorite tricks to use. But what I want to do is I want Jörg to be able to share just a couple of things. And I want to set the stage. I'm assuming that in order for what Jörg's doing, I have an iPad or an iPhone and I have a Mac, and we're signed in with the same Apple ID on all of that stuff. Is that right, Jörg? Yeah, there you go. And
Okay,
as
perfect, yes.
Jörg's going to bring up his screen and he's going to show us some serious magic. So if you thought a new way to take a screenshot was cool, wait till you see this, because this is like mind-blowing stuff.
Okay, before we kind of talk about adding different or having all those devices kind of work together, let me show you a couple. One thing that is also mind-blowing and just got released, and it could be really, really powerful. So desktop one, I'm going to share it here real quick. So I'm in the Photos app, right? I'm one of those people, when I travel and I see like a recipe I really like, I take a photo. Well, now we have intelligence built in where even though this is an image, I can actually click on it and highlight it. So now images that have writing on it, you're now able to take that text and edit it, right? So in this case, I could right click on it, select it and say, translate it, and it translates into Spanish. Or I could copy and paste into my notes because it's a recipe. And that applies to all the pictures, right? So you take a picture of a poster with a location, you can highlight the location and look up the location. So kind of a quick side note, works with all the photos that you take from now on or older photos. It just simply recognizes that there's text to it. Now, couple things that Casey mentioned I can do with multiple devices. So one of my most favorite apps is the Notes app. I love the Notes app because it's free. And if I'm signed into the same Apple ID, it kind of synchronizes across my Mac, my iPad, and my iPhone, right? So I could create shopping lists, and I can share it. I can also share it with other people. Sometimes I just kind of start jotting down some thoughts, and then I can pick it up on my iPad or continue working on it on my phone. But a couple cool things that are part of it now that kind of integrate other technologies is up here on the top, there's this link with a plus, right? Sometimes I do some research, I find something on a website, and then I have to go to the website and copy and paste the URL onto my document so I know what the source is. But I can click on add link now, and it knows in Safari, the last website I visited was this website, so I can click on add link. Or if I want to share with my wife, I can just kind of have this link to the document sent to my wife. Now, I have this thing in here, kind of my notepad. Well, I also have some documents I would kind of like to add to it. So you can, again, take a photo and then airdrop it from your phone, from your iPad to your Mac. But the Notes app also integrates with your devices. So what I'm going to do is up here is my little photo icon. And if I click on the drop down, the default thing is I can directly go into my Photos app and grab a photo from the photo app. But also it recognizes all the other devices I'm signed in with. So I could take a photo on my phones. I'm going to say take photo, right? It opens up my phone. And now I can use the camera and I can take a photo of my dirty screen here. And if I say use photo, you can see, oops, all the fingerprints on my screen. So I guess I gotta have to clean it. Or let's say there's a couple documents I just want to scan. I again click on the photo icon. I can say scan document. And now it opens up my camera. I have a math worksheet here. Take a quick photo of it. I'm gonna utilize it, and you can see down here's a scanned document. I can tap on it, and now I have a document like a math worksheet signed in. Or if I want to use it as a stylus, I can also click on the drop down and click on add sketch, and now I can draw something on the screen on my phone and basically have it seamlessly added to your note. I think really some cool stuff, right? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Jörg, one of the things about that whole idea of the bringing in kind of the digitized, either worksheets or maybe a paper item that now you want to make it digitized. That same process that he was showing, believe it or not, if you just do a right click on your desktop, that same feature as far as being able to scan from iPhone will show up right there. And so let's see here, there it is, import from iPad or iPhone. And then scan documents, take a photo, all of that stuff. It's going to send it directly to your desktop. That way you have a place where maybe you can send it somewhere else. So in my mind, I'm kind of thinking this becomes a workflow of me having a place to quickly put it, to throw it into my Google Drive or my OneDrive or my iCloud Drive, whatever virtual drive that I'm using in order to be able to share with my kids. So wonderful stuff.
Thanks for mentioning that, Casey. And I just learned something new. I didn't know you could do that from your desktop. So cool. And if you've not played around with it, if you scan a document and you hold it, you kind of spread the papers out next to each other. You can take the camera, it automatically recognizes the document, takes a photo, you move over to the next page. So you can have multiple pages in the same PDF file. The camera automatically takes care of it and adds it to it. Another thing that we just released is a feature. It's called Universal Control. And Universal Control is really cool when it comes to, you have a Mac, you have an iPad, or you maybe have a Mac and a MacBook and an iPad. And sometimes you're like, man, I wish I could utilize my iPad as a second screen. Or maybe if you have a Mac and a MacBook, maybe I could use my iMac as a second screen to my MacBook or vice versa, right? So we have the technology built in. I'm going to walk you through what the process looks like here. turn the volume off here. So if you have a Mac and an iPad, and it's still a beta version, but if you have the latest version of the operating system on there, it allows you to do that, basically seamlessly integrating both devices. So to get started, you have to set it up. So on the Mac side, we're going to go over to System Preferences. And under Displays, there's an option called Universal Display. You select the version or variation you want, click on Done, and then you switch over to the iPad. And under Settings, General AirPlay Handoff, you have to enable it as well, where you make sure handoff is turned on, and cursor and keyboard beta. And now if the devices are next to each other, the system will automatically recognize it when you're signed into the same iCloud. And now you can just move your mouse from your desktop to your iPad, or use your iPad cursor and move from your iPad to your Mac, and seamlessly use them as two displays that kind of work in conjunction with each other. Like I said, just got announced, just got released, really, really cool. Works seamlessly. I've been playing around with this for quite some time, especially if you have a larger screen iPad, it's very powerful. Another thing we just announced with macOS Monterey is you can, if you don't have an Apple TV in your classroom, you have a Mac or a MacBook that's connected to a projector, you can actually utilize your Mac as an AirPlay receiver. What that means is basically your Mac will function as an Apple TV, allowing you to walk through your classroom with your iPad and project from your iPad through your Mac to the projector. The way you turn this feature on is you go to System Preferences, and under Sharing.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Oh, okay. Hold on. Share screen. Try that again. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Can you see? Okay, perfect. So you go to System Preferences, and then under System Preferences, under Sharing, you can click on AirPlay Receiver, and now it lets you use your Mac as an AirPlay receiver. So basically emulating an Apple TV, you have different options where you can only allow the same Apple ID to project to it, anybody on the same network or everyone, and you can have a 4-digit passcode to basically protect what's being shown on the screen. So that's a really cool thing. If you're on an Apple TV, you can now use your iMac or your MacBook to basically provide that service.
So kind of the thought process there is, if I have my Mac hooked up to my projector in my classroom, but I'd love that mobility of walking around with an iPad, that idea. This is one of those features that is available to us. A couple of quick caveats, obviously, is one, the idea that all of these devices are signed in with your personal Apple ID, and that's what really makes this work and make it effective. And so as awesome as all of that stuff is, I think today when we take a look at everything that we did, we got to look at a few, basic features to kind of get things rolling and get us warmed up. And then we got to dive into some really neat items that are on our Mac. And so what I'd love to do is, we got a few minutes, not very many, but I'd like to ask if there's any particular questions, or if there's, in my mind, what I like to do is I like to point this towards education. And so as you going through this, were there any moments where you're like, whoa, this could seriously help, Johnny in my classroom, or this could be something that my entire team could really run with? So I'd like to pause it there and just see what you guys thought. Is there anything there that really sparked some ideas?
We're a district that uses so many Apple TVs, but it was amazing to see that last tip, because I think so often the Apple TV may be the bottleneck on you being able to accomplish something, because it's an older one and maybe your computer's newer. Mm-hmm. So that, like Jörg just showed us, I think that's a really neat idea, that it gives us the opportunity to project and be mobile. But like you said too, potentially even to allow other people to share if you need to. So a little side note to the being able to use the Mac as an AirPlay receiver.
So, I mean, hopefully we're not going back to hybrid environments, right? But if you have an iPad and you just stream to the Apple TV, you can only serve the students that are in the classroom. But if you have a Mac and use it as an AirPlay receiver, you could have the Mac AirPlay or play to the projector while Zoom is running, while your students are attending virtually. And now you can use the iPad, and the students in the classroom as well as on Zoom or whatever software you're using can see the screen. So it kind of serves both in-person and hybrid environments. So I think that's a pretty cool workflow there.
Absolutely. Well, as we're kind of bringing this to a close, I'm just sending the chat really quick. If you have any other questions, feel free to put it in there. Something that's pretty big that happened today is if you are a huge fan of iMovie like I am, there was an update today that you have to force to happen. You'd have to go to the App Store and actually search for iMovie and click on it to see the update. But the update brings in a few new features that I think are going to be extremely exciting as far as just being able to create videos. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to share my desktop one last time before I give you all of the cool stuff. So here is the big items within, projects, cancel, and bring that back. The big items are just my ability to bring in and create something called a magic movie, and it looks like my iMovie hasn't finished updating all the way. So I got all excited to show you something. I'll have to show you here in a second. Basically what it's going to allow us to do is dump in all of our pictures at once and create what's known as a magic movie. Basically, it's going to allow all of my pictures to go through that nifty little shift magic move automatically. And so that'll be the next thing that I show you guys when we get to meet again, hopefully in the near future. But with all of that being said, I really want to leave this with just a couple of resources that I think everybody needs to know about. The first one is I'm going to connect Apple Teacher here with UEN. The Apple Teacher website, what there is a set of training or professional development opportunities for teachers to go through that are specific to Mac or specific to iPad. Those trainings are really cool. They're small, they're bite-sized. If you want to learn more about iMovie, you click on iMovie. If you want to learn more about just how to use my Mac, you click on that one. Where UEN is really supporting us is if you go to uen.catalog.instructure.com, what you'll find is 2 courses, one for iPad, one for Mac, that basically allow you to go through the Apple Teacher program, show them that you have completed the tasks within Apple Teacher, and then upload one assignment. And what they'll do is they'll give you 1 lane change credit or 1 continuing ed credit, which is number 1, it's a great way to learn. Number 2, it's a pretty easy lift. And so it's a great way to earn an extra credit. One of the other things, or 2 of the other things, is number 1, apple.co/APL, and notice it's not .com, it's .co. What that'll do is it'll take you to a website that looks an awful lot like this one over here. Basically, we are offering free professional development opportunities every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for teachers nationwide. And so if you go to that website and you click on it and you do a little bit of scrolling right there, what it's going to do is give you the opportunity to go through a training every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's always a different topic. Like this week, one of the topics is, I believe, coding. A lot of coding stuff happening right now. And then there were quite a few that dealt with how to use Keynote more effectively. And so those are pretty neat. And then the last little bit is this apple.co/askapl. And what that'll do is it'll provide you with a sign-up page, again, looking an awful lot like this, where you can actually sign up for free one-on-one virtual coaching with an Apple professional learning specialist. So, today kind of our job was to say, hey, here's a couple of neat things. You could actually set up a meeting with this group You can either do it as an individual, or you can do it as an entire team, or like the third grade team could get together. And you could go through a little individualized training with them. The real purpose is to create a coaching opportunity. So they would love to help you develop a lesson that you could utilize inside the classroom. Great stuff, all free. And then where I'll really leave you and kind of turn it back over is if you guys need to get in contact, you want to just have a few questions answered, or maybe you want to say, hey, Casey, would you do that for us one more time? Come right here. Just send an email to Team Utah, and that's at group.apple.com. Great information right there. So with those items, what I'll do is I'll stop sharing here in a moment, but I'm going to turn this back over to you all.
Well, thank you, Casey. We appreciate that. Ooh, I lose mine. 1 sec. There we are.
Perfect.
Yep, we're back.
Gotcha now. Awesome.
Hey, you just pulled the ultimate trick there. All that great stuff, and the last two things you shared were probably the most important. Right? Isn't that the way it always is? Like everyone who stopped when they saw shortcuts, they missed out on the best thing ever, is the ability to find out how to get more help.
So what I'll do is I'm going to actually just paste that into the chat over here. I think that'll be the best place for it. So I'll grab all of that info and throw it in there. No, I'm really proud of what UEN has done in supporting, our growth and learning with Apple products. And so I highly encourage everybody to, go over there. And again, it's that last link that I just put on there. Sign up for the class. I mean, it's a credit. You might as well go and get it. That's pretty cool.
Yep. No, that's a great suggestion. And as we hope, as you have watched this either live with us today or when we share out the link with you all, that you'll take advantage of some of these great courses that Apple's offering, or some of the live training sessions that we've heard about today. I know our plan as the Jordan Digital Teaching and Learning Team is to continue to bring more options for you to learn how to utilize your computers, as well as the great learning opportunities that are on some of the different programs that they offer. Can't wait to see that new Magic movie that Casey kind of gave us a sneak profile of. So we're excited to learn more about that. And hopefully we can bring you all more opportunities to learn from Apple, since so many of you are on a Mac in your classroom. So we're excited to give you that opportunity. But we appreciate our friends from Apple being here today. And we appreciate you joining us and watching this whenever you happen to catch it. But we will be bringing you more webinars throughout the school year and into the summer. We hope to bring Apple back, not only as a virtual option like we had today, but also live. We hope to be able to bring a live session soon as well. So we are pleased to continue our partnership with our friends from Apple. But we appreciate you watching today, and hopefully you got more than just tips and tricks. You learned some ways that you can increase your effectiveness and transform your classroom. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Bye.
We'll reach out soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks everybody.